go.
We're here today at the Jacksonville Arboretum and Gardens to introduce you to prescribed burning in Florida.
The Jacksonville Arboretum has selected to burn this particular spot we are on and the surrounding vegetation so that they can better manage it in the future.
We're going to go over an introduction to history, objectives and burn plan, ignition, techniques and equipment, and safety concerns. I'm Kay Stevens, and I'm going to talk about the history with our prescribed burn plan. Thunderstorms provided unlimited ignition opportunities with ground strikes of lightning. Under these conditions, fires were common and widespread in Florida. Humans have occupied Florida for more than 12,000 years. Native Americans created a series of canals and ditches like those found near the settlement of the Ortona on the Caloosahatchee River. The purpose of these structures was to raise and harvest fish. Florida's first inhabitants made significant attempts to harness fire and water. Throughout North America, intentional fires set by Native Americans differed from natural fires in their seasonality, frequency, and severity. Specific reasons throughout the U.S. were broken into 11 categories: hunting, crop management, improved growth and yields, fireproofing selected areas, collecting of insects, pest management, warfare and signaling, economic extortion, clearing travel routes, felling trees, clearing riparian areas, which are zones situated near water. The dawn of the 20th century brought organized efforts to control wildfires. First, the U.S. Army and later the U.S. Forest Service attempted to control and extinguish forest fires. In 1944, the U.S. Forest Service started the Smokey the Bear advertising campaign. Original message: safety says care will prevent 9 out of 10 forest fires. In 1947, this was changed to only you can prevent forest fires. In 2001 to present, changed to only you can prevent wildfires. This created an image that all forest fires were destructive and should be prevented at all cost. In 1989, writing of Mrs. Ellen Call Long suggested the maritime pine belt would disappear and give place to a jungle of hardwood and deciduous trees. Statute books of almost all southern states prohibited setting fire to the woods. Viewed from a forestry standpoint, a burn ban would annihilate pine growth.
My name's Marilyn Young, and I'm going to talk to you today about what are the objectives to do a prescribed burn, and also what a burn plan is. And a burn plan is also known as a prescription. The basic reasons for doing a prescribed burn are actually similar to those that Kay mentioned that our ancestors used: to manage the vegetation in the forest, to benefit wildlife species, to reduce the fuel available for wildfires, to improve plant diversity, and to control plant diseases and insect infestations. And there may be others as well for your land. Before you venture off doing your prescribed burn, you also want to consider, is it really right for you? Not all landscape is appropriate for prescribed burns. For example, if you're in a hardwood forested upland or perhaps a scrub habitat, the prescribed burn may actually harm your trees. In addition, trees need to be an appropriate age to benefit from a prescribed burn and not sustain damage. Once you've determined that a prescribed burn is right for you and in conjunction with your local forestry service, then the next step is putting together your burn plan to detail how you're going to do your prescribed burn. The first element of that burn plan is going to be to describe what the area is. And the burn plan that I'm going to go through today is going to be referenced at the end of the video in our references section, so you can pull up a sample. The burn unit description should include the area to be burned, and then after that, the community description of what plants and trees are on that section. Then you'll go through and include your fuel description, your burn objectives, how you're going to manage smoke, the personnel and equipment needed to perform the burn, the weather factors that are right on the day of the burn, and any contingencies for if there should be an escape of the fire and how you're going to manage smoke intrusions. 3.
My name is Zach Poole, and I'm going to give you a brief introduction on ignition techniques and equipment for prescribed burning. Once you have determined the goals and objectives of your prescribed burn, there are various other factors that you will need to take into consideration on what ignition technique you will use. These factors include type and quantity of fuel, smoke concerns, personnel, and weather. With these factors under consideration, you are now ready to choose between one or a combination of 5 different ignition techniques. These techniques are backing fires, head fires, flank ignition fires, strip head fires, and spot fires. Each technique has its own advantages and disadvantages. For example, while a backing fire is has a slower burn rate, it also leads to higher fuel consumption and lower smoke dispersal. While on the other hand, head fires have a quicker smoke dispersal rate but lower rates of fuel consumption. No matter what fire ignition technique you use, there is uniformity in the basic equipment needed for each. This includes an ignition source such as a drip torch in order to provide a uniform and safe way to put fire on the ground. Also, tools such as rakes will be useful in removing fuel to create fire breaks, and fire flappers that can squelch fire that approach those breaks.
Safety is an important concern when conducting a prescribed fire. Make sure that a first aid kit and plenty of drinking water are always nearby. Poorly managed burns or ignorance of safety measures can lead to property damage and even injury or death. Even in well-managed burns, accidents can occur. Before, during, and after every burn, safety should be a major consideration. Proper clothing can also add a measure of safety. Fireproof Nomex pants and shirts are essential. Leather boots and gloves, along with eye protection, should be worn at all times. Never wear synthetic fibers like nylon, which can melt to the skin. Make sure you have adequate help. Generally, 3 or 4 people are needed on each fire line, more if safety may be a challenge. One will ignite the fire and be in charge of operations, the fire boss. 1 or 2 should keep the fire on its correct path, and any others should help mop up, extinguish flares, or escape flames. You need to have plenty of water readily accessible in the event that your fire hops a fire line or otherwise needs to be controlled. You can accomplish this by having a truck or ATV equipped with a water tank. You may also want to have a backpack sprayer to carry with you. You will need to constantly be monitoring any changes in weather. Designate someone to continually check the wind direction, relative humidity, and temperature. All these things can affect how hot your fire will burn and where your smoke will be blowing. Weather changes, and you need to be ready to keep your fire under control. Communication is so important. Have people repeat back instructions for good communication. If someone misunderstands what corner you are expecting them to light off, you could be in for some very unpleasant surprises. It's also important not to use too much lingo, especially if you have people from different agencies, volunteers, and landowners working together. Lastly, good communication also means being sure that you keep in contact with each person on the burn. Walkie-talkies work well for this. There are also some apps that function like walkie-talkies and can be used.
3.
Thank you for watching. We've included resources at the end of our video for further information.